Wells stores out of Florida. That's $50,000. That there were some problems on the order, so we couldn't put it into our system. And that's being resolved. And we have another big order from Ross stores coming any day now. So we have no lack of ability to get the business. What we have, the lack of ability to do is get people to work. Despite our best efforts in advertising, we just cannot find people to work. So really determined to be able to get the business, which we need to get the business, we're going to have to do a hybrid model of manufacturing and importing to be able to kind of satisfy the customer demand. I mean, what's great news is that buyers are looking for fresh product. They're looking for fresh sources. They've been just very responsive and very open to, our product and what we're showing them. So we really think that we're in a position to capitalize, but we're not in a position to be able to fund import orders. We just, it's cash is like scarce for us anyway. And to be able to fund a $50,000 import order is just not something we have the ability to do. And I apologize for not talking to people on this beautiful big screen TV. That's kind of where we're at in a nutshell. Can I answer any?
Sure. And if we're going to get the first financials, I don't know if you want to go into executive session.
Well, if there's any generic questions ahead of time,
Sure.
we'll do that, and then we'll.
Okay.
So you let us know.
We already recapped the particulars. What, I think somebody already went down through what they asked us for.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
We've talked about so many things, I
yeah,
forgot what the
they
heck we
just went
talked
through
about.
that.
Okay, I thought we
But
did.
if you have, if
No,
anyone has
that
questions,
was the only thing, just to kind of recap that for public
generic
record.
business questions or.
I do have a question regarding the labor.
Yeah.
Because I know that you did explain in here to some degree on how you would overcome that. But I'm not convinced yet with the level of labor available in our market that you have that under control.
Okay, so, and thank you for that question, I'm actually, when we look at the importing and the direct importing, a lot of it's gonna go directly from China to our customers. So we're not even gonna touch the goods. Some of it will come into our warehouse, and I do feel like we are appropriately staffed to be able to handle that. I was actually I was so impressed with my team. It was it was April. We had 3 containers come to our warehouse that were destined for Joann stores. Those 3 containers literally hit our dock one day, and they turned around and got on trucks to Joann's in the same day. So I was my team really stepped up, and I was very impressed with what they were able to do in that regard. So I feel pretty confident. What I feel really, really confident about is the labor that I do have. It's not fleeting. It's people who have a long-term history with the company, relatively committed to what we're doing. And I honestly, yesterday, yes, it was snowy and it was bad. We ended up having to close because we had 6 people call off. From a production standpoint, that's devastating. We couldn't be productive with those 6 people off. So I just decided that we would just close and give people an extra snow day.
So you have 20 total in production?
Yes.
Currently.
Yeah. And I do feel like that's going to keep our base of manufacturing that we have now. It's not going to allow us to grow it a whole lot, and we will continue to look for more people and flex that up where we possibly can.
You're hoping to add 5 new?
Yes.
And that's straight manufacturing the 5.
Yes,
Okay.
and I would do that right now today if I could find those 5. And hopefully we can, but hope is not a strategy. And Does that answer your question?
I think it's still an unknown for all of us.
I
But
I don't disagree with you.
But I do understand the hybrid method and
Yeah.
plan for that.
You mentioned that you had these other companies' artwork, individuals' artworks from another company. So if you're having stuff made in China, what type of artwork is being put in those frames there, or is it just the frames that you're putting other artwork in?
So we did custom picture framing for AC Moore stores. So everything was one of a kind, that you can't do that from China. So although we do some custom picture framing now, that it was a separate company, Timeless Decor, that is shut down essentially. So we do some custom picture framing. It's more for local people. And that we would continue.
So you're not talking about doing custom framing now?
No, this would be framed art, framed mirrors, picture frames.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're not comfortable answering this question, we can do it in an executive session, but in your plan here, you speak about you receive an order and then you receive some of that, but you actually have to pay your vendors most of the time more quickly, and that's your cash flow issues.
That's correct.
I don't know if you want to address that in
I would
executive session.
prefer
Okay,
to
that's
address
fine.
that in executive
It was a
session.
semi-generic question, but the generic part of this, importation is a big issue right now, and it might get better, it may get worse. We don't know that either. So if it gets better, do you believe some of that pressure is gonna be relieved with the way you've described it in here with the cash in versus cash out?
So I think that one of the things is that although we have some long established relationships with vendors in
Mhm.
China, and one of our bigger vendors in China right now, they just approved us for 60-day terms. So that's gonna help.
Okay. Is
Um,
that through kind of like a line of credit? on
Yeah.
receivables? Okay.
so, well, no, they've just given us
They
terms.
just, okay,
And
that's good.
so that's gonna help, but it's not gonna solve
Okay.
the problem. So if we look at importing 2 years ago and we look at importing today, it's a totally different situation. So even when I brought those containers in April for Joann's stores, I paid $15,000 to float that container just in freight. And then I paid $3,800 in inland freight to get it out of the port into Watertown, which is mind blowing. But now I'm looking at more like 4,800 for floating the container and 1,500 for inland freight. So it's gotten better to a pretty broad extent. I will say one of the risks right now, and quite frankly, it's hard to determine what's real and what's propaganda. But with the whole COVID explosion that's going on in China, as we talk to our vendors, they're saying like, oh, no, it's not a problem. And, you know, you don't know. And
Another comment, if I'm reading it correctly, you're seeing it's taking 80 to 90 days to import products? Maybe I read it wrong.
no, it's taking 80 to 90 days to collect from our customers.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
reading that as it was taking that because I know there's a lot of fast sailing ships from China. It's a pretty quick trade route.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're getting it into the US and Watertown much more quickly than that?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
That answered that
it's
question.
usually 60 days.
I was gonna suggest a different freight forwarder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually like a 30-day lead time with the factory and then 30 days on the water.
Okay. All right. Those are kind of the only generic questions, because this is really loan on receivables, for the lack of a better description. I mean, that's really all it is you're not able to collect on receivables quickly enough to pay your vendors.
Okay, John, any questions? Generic?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Oh, not this point.
I move we go to executive session to talk about personal confidential financial data.
Second?
All in favor, aye?
I,
Got it.
Recording stopped.
And we're gonna leave, staff, IDA members, committee, and Lisa.
Yes.
Okay. I should have said that when I made the motion.